Okay, Private Larry, we are going with Cobra Extreme this week. Yes, sir. And what does Cobra Extreme mean to you? Big wheels, sir. And big missiles, sir. Are we forgetting anything? Big snakes, perhaps? Speaking of which, where'd they get to? Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. Now we're taking a look at our set of land vehicles for the Cobra Convergence. And right here, built out of Legos, we have an adder and a stun. Like all the other vehicles I've shown off this month, I purchased the plans from the website Geewunner, and I redesigned them slightly on my own system. But if you're interested in taking a look at these and buying them for yourself, I do have links in the description down below to Geewunner's website where you can buy the plans and parts. Or if you're just interested in the instructions, you can visit his page on Bricklink and get the plans for yourself. Now, let's take a look at both of these vehicles individually and show off what they're capable of. Okay, the first one I want to show off to everybody here is the adder. The adder was one of the first ones that I did build myself, so I do have some pride in how it turned out. Now, mine inadvertently has a little bit of a custom job on it. Now, this was not intentional. This was just how the piece got sent to me. You can see right here, I've got a 501 sticker on here. This means that this particular tile was used in a Star Wars set for one of the vehicles of the 501st. Which I know specifically I did not order any of them to have stickers on there, so kind of a little bonus that I got with it, and I just left it on there. So it kind of adds a nice little detail to the adder itself. The original adder came out in 1988, and as you can see, it's basically a missile launching vehicle, as its primary and sole armaments are these two large missiles, which, according to the blueprints, are a pair of surface-to-surface missiles. So, anti-tank rockets, if you will. But the main thing you could do with them on the toy was that you could raise them up on their own launcher, and as you can see here, the good folks at Geewunner have incorporated that play feature. So it does allow the missiles to be raised for pretend firing. And here we go, we'll even detach one of them so that you all can get a closer look at it. Missiles turned out pretty good. Of course, the whole vehicle did as well. I was impressed with how well the mechanism does work for this. It is very smooth. It does work just about all the time. It isn't entirely perfect, but it does work. So, I'm willing to give it that much. And of course we need a little guy to drive it, and there was no specific driver for the adder, so I got me a little Creo Crimson Guard. He definitely looks happy there, sticking his rifle in the air. Guess he's eager to drive the vehicle. And we got to keep his legs close together, because these guys do like to spread their legs open. when you try to put him in a seat. As long as you can at least get one of the holes in their legs to snap into the Lego posts, he will stay in position. Put your gun down, dude. And there we go. And it rolls sort of okay on this table. Oh, my tablecloth here is making it a little difficult, but all in all, it isn't a very bad vehicle. I do really enjoy how this one turned out. Alright, now let's switch over to the Stun. And here we have the Cobra Stun. The original version of this toy came out in 1986. And I'll admit I was skeptical about how well the Stun would turn out in Lego form. I will admit to that. I was very skeptical as to how well it would turn out. And as it happens, it turned out rather well, surprisingly enough. And I made a slight change here on the design to the guns. I went with some different pieces for it than what was recommended in Geewunner's plans. This change I don't recommend at all because the guns are kind of wobbly in spots. So next time I order some parts, I'm gonna get some better ones. Get the ones that are recommended and change these things out so that they don't wobble on me as much. But of course, the big play feature about the Stun was the fact that it could open up the front pod here and separate into two different pods. Now, can we do that with the Lego version? Yes, we can. Take a look at that. That is some nice bit of engineering here on Geewunner's part. They engineered this very, very well. It's very, very smooth. There's no problem with it. And of course, the guns do elevate. They got some pretty stiff pins in there, so it takes a little effort to move the guns, but the guns do move. That's nice. Now, in the original toy, the guns were tied to the red seats in here, so it would mean that the seats would also fold back when elevating the guns. Unfortunately, that's not easy to accomplish here in Lego form. So, if there is to be a setback to the Stun on that, it would be that. And I also know there is a slight change from the original toy on to this, as back here we do have the machine gun. We got the seat where it's actually facing towards the gun, whereas I know on the toy the seat backer was resting against this platform here. So basically the operator of it was looking sideways to be able to operate it. This is changed around so he has a real seat and he's actually facing the gun. I think that's a little bit of an improvement. I'm real amazed that Lego made something very similar to the Stun's flags at one point. So that's a nice touch. Unfortunately, those flags are not very common, and they don't come in a whole lot of colors. So a Python version or even the Dreadnought version of a Stun is not going to have the proper flags. In fact, I don't think the major pieces that form the pods are available in a lot of the other colors as well. So I think a Python or a Dreadnought version of the Stun is probably a long shot at best. Unless you want to be blasphemous and paint the thing. But then again, let's not get into that. Okay, let's equip this thing with some people on it. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a Motor Viper, and Creon did not make any Motor Vipers, so we'll take a page out of the cartoon and we'll put Cobra Commander in the driver's seat. He was all gung-ho on that the season opener to attack G.I. Joe headquarters, so he might as well lead the charge himself. Gotta adjust the control sticks here so that way they'll try to line up with his hand. There we go. Well, he's got one of them in his hands. That'll do. Now, what should we put here in the pods? Well, we need two. So, I've got Tomax and Zaymot. We'll just stick them in here. And of course, the silly thing about buying Tomax and Zaymot in Creon form is the fact that Tomax was put in the blind bags for, I think it was the third wave, so that you could easily get Tomax. If you wanted Zaymot, you had to buy the Terradrome. And as the Terradrome was a $200 set when the set came out, a bit much and takes up a lot of room. So I just ended up buying Zaymot off of eBay. That way I could just have him, and then I've got the Crimson Guard leaders for the G.I. Joe role-playing game. Now we need some missile launching weapons. Okay, now for the back, we need somebody to man the gun, and we'll just go with a bat. We got one of the regular bats here, so we'll just put him in the back. Stick his arms up in the air so we kind of have room to press his feet in. There we go. Lower the arms down, and then there we go. Now, of course, on these platforms here, you could put more Cobra guys on here, because I believe the stun was able to hold, what, 11 guys altogether? So, yeah, you could probably easily do it. The problem is that since there's so little space in between, they get a little clustered together, so you'd probably be going a little bit less on that on this version of the stun. Just so it doesn't look super crowded on here. But then again, if you do happen to have one of these in Lego form, it's definitely up to you how you want to fill it up. And yes, if you're wondering, behind these little flaps here, we do have some computers. That's the nice thing about Lego. They have made a bunch of these sloped bricks that do have various computer displays. The trouble is that since this thing requires them in black, finding a good one, finding a decent one in black is something of the challenge. The design that was used on the original plans, it doesn't come on a black tile, so it doesn't come on a black brick, so I had to change it to something else. And that's kind of just personal taste, really. And how does the stun roll on these big tires? It rolls pretty good here, even on this tablecloth. No, this could be fun just rolling it back and forth. Okay, so we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of them? Again, I like how they turned out. I definitely liked seeing how well the Adder's missile raising mechanism turned out. And believe me, I was impressed with how the engineering went for the stun. I never would have expected to see a stun built in Lego form. So to actually get one in Lego form, and it actually turns out pretty good, that was definitely an impressive thing. So definitely, my hats go off to the folks at Geewunner for the way they work these vehicles out. They definitely do some serious work here on these, and probably use some techniques that many of us don't think about. But then again, if you're not around Lego bricks all the time, you're probably not going to think about it. But it definitely shows a good path of creativity and imagination. As for play value, these things do seem to hold up pretty good if you follow their instructions. If you go your own way on them, well, you're taking your chances. But all in all, I think that these are pretty good. These would look good in a Lego City display as Cobra tries to take over. Or even, like I've mentioned before, for the upcoming role-playing game that's been released out now. I mean, not all the vehicles are in the role-playing book yet, but give it time. There may be an expansion book to cover more of the vehicles. And if not, some crazy person will probably make rules for them. Let's have some fun. At any rate, that's my review of a Lego built Adder and Stun, some of Cobra's land vehicles. I hope everybody enjoyed it. And remember, if you do like the content that we feature on my channel, please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. I do appreciate the feedback. Now, we've covered the land, we've covered the seas, and we've covered the air. So what are we going to do to top it off? Well, a friend of mine showed me a special Canadian 2-pack, and we're going to show that off next week in Lego form. So, this is Sparkster1701 saying I will catch you all later.